Hey, Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, Salam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be your first guest.
Yes, you are our first guest, which I'm really excited about. And I actually have your book right here in my hands.
Yay!
Yeah, I see it in the background there.
Yeah.
I would put it back here, but I definitely want to refer to it a little bit here and there.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and how let's just give it a few minutes to see if anyone else joins us. And thank you for everyone who's here for our first Instagram Live. Okay, so Sarah, we're gonna get right into it. So
Okay.
I guess I'd like to start off by just maybe doing like a quick intro about Enviro Muslims, and then I'll introduce you, and then I'll pick your brain a little bit about the book. Yeah,
Okay.
so Enviro. Oh, actually, I should introduce myself. My name
Yeah.
is Saba. I'm one of the co-founders of Enviro Muslims, and we're a community group that started in October of 2019. And our goal is to engage with, educate, and truly empower Canadian Muslims to embed sustainability in their lives. So whether it's where you work, you live, you play, or even where you pray, our goal is to really just encourage that love and commitment to
Mhm.
care for the natural environment, which is something that we really believe Islam emphasizes as well.
Absolutely.
So the reason again why we decided to start these lives is because we started our work in October 2019. We had about 5 months before COVID hit. And
Mm.
we had all of these great plans and really wanted to connect with the community and help our members of the community who were doing cool work like yourself. We wanted to really celebrate your work. And because we were missing out on those in-person interactions and some of the events that we had planned, we thought, well, why not just start a series and give
Mhm.
Canadian Muslims a platform to do some of this, to showcase some of their work.
That's
So that's
awesome.
a little, yeah, so that's a little bit about us. And now I'm going to introduce Sarah. So Sarah UmmYusuf is a wife and a mother of three, and she's also a non-toxic living mentor who has helped countless families on their journeys to creating a healthy home since 2011. When she's not busy reading product labels or making her own cleaning products, you can find her chasing after her kiddos and drinking lots of coffee. Yeah, so Sarah, I just wanted to, I mean, I've gone through the book a bit, so I know a bit about how you started your work. So if you wouldn't mind maybe speaking to that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, it kind of happened by accident. I never set out to, start this work. I grew up in a typical North American household using the typical products and, following the crowd, as they say. And then I started having some physical manifestations of something, like I had, skin issues and things on my hands, that got me to start thinking about the products that I'm using and just kind of make small changes. And then I got pregnant a few years later, and that really kind of set everything into motion because I was starting to now care more about what I'm putting on my body, what I'm putting in my body, what I'm using around myself. And that's when the blog started, and it was just really just sharing what I've been learning, sharing what I've been using, um, but it was never meant to grow into something big until there was an incident that happened, and I talk about it in the book with my oldest, Yusuf.
Yeah.
He was a toddler. We had just moved into a new home, and I left him in the kitchen for like 2 minutes, and I came back to him screaming and crying for some reason. So when I
Yeah.
assessed the situation, he had gotten under the sink and opened up a big container of those, those dishwasher tablets. Those they have like the gel and the powder inside. He
Yeah.
opened up the container and just took a big chunk out of, like he just bit a chunk out of one. And he had
Wow.
like all this white stuff dribbling down his chin and his chest, and he's screaming, and I'm freaking out, and and it wasn't even ours; it was just left behind from the previous tenants.
Yeah.
So I called poison control. Alhamdulillah, like he said it, what to look for and what to do. And alhamdulillah, like Yusuf was fine within a few hours. He was just shook up. But the poison control person on the other end told me something that like changed everything. And he said that this kind of things happens all the time, whether it's children, whether it's pets. Um, these products are left out, and they, curious children and pets bite into them and eat them, and they have all sorts of reactions. And so that's when I was like, okay, this is like way bigger than I thought, it's way bigger than myself. And that's when I really went full force and went with the blog and made it public and grew it into what it is today, which is a really big community of people just trying to take care of their families and have safe and healthy homes.
Yeah, it's crazy that when you called and you were obviously frantic and so stressed about what had happened to Yusuf, that the response you got was, well, this happens all the
Mm-hmm.
time. That must like that's so scary.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things that you mentioned in the book that really spoke to me was the fact that when we talk to our doctors or our dietitians or whenever we talk about our health and well-being, a lot of times what's told to us is, what you put into your body is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is a temple. What you put into
Yeah.
it is so important. And one of the things that you wrote about was, what you put around your body and on your body is just as important. And I think, yeah, and I think with that, what came to mind was cosmetics, because I think there's like a
Mm.
huge push. A lot of, you walk into a Sephora and there's like a whole section of green, eco,
Yeah.
like,
Clean
all of
beauty.
clean
Yeah.
beauty
Yeah.
products. And you don't necessarily think of, you don't think of your cleaning process. At least I didn't as much as I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I probably should.
Mm-hmm.
But can you kind of talk us through a bit about that? I know in your book you talk about the impacts these chemicals have on our body as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we tend to think of, the products that we use that we should care about are the ones that we ingest in some way, whether
Yeah.
they're absorbed through our skin or we eat them. And so we don't really think about the products that we use about around our home because we don't eat them. We don't sit there and drink our glass
Yeah.
cleaner. But the issue arises when we think about other ways that we ingest these products, which is through our nasal cavity. We breathe them in. And there's tiny compounds called VOCs, volatile organic compounds. And these are really tiny compounds that are in all sorts of products, not just cleaning products. And they are ingested into our body and they will affect our hormones, they will affect our immune system, they will affect reproductive systems, they all kinds of internal systems in our body, and our body is supposed to, like, it has the systems in place to detoxify itself and remove these compounds from our body, but it has a limit. And so what we end up doing is we end up, bombarding our body with all of these chemicals that we're breathing in, that we're using on our body, that we're eating in our food, that we're drinking in our water. So like there's so many entry points that our systems kind of get overloaded. And that's what I talk about, the body burden in the book. And so when that happens, then our system kind of goes haywire and it freaks out and it doesn't know what to do and it starts attacking itself. We get autoimmune disease, and allergies and all kinds, and asthma. These types of things pop up. And so it's really important that we understand exactly what's happening so that we can focus on the right things, so that we can take care of the internal as much as the external.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes, like, even just hearing you speak about it, it's kind of scary. It's like overwhelming. Even for me,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my
yeah.
goodness, like, I clean my washer, but all the chemicals that have gone to my body, and it's scary. But what I really appreciated about the book was you laid out, like, even the way that it was organized was so
Mm-hmm.
helpful. It was very practical and like getting to know the chemicals and
Mm.
then going through each room of your house. So to anyone watching, you need to pick up this book because even part 3 of it and how it's laid out, like the step-by-step guide, walking through each room of your house. And even, I think when I think of cleaning products, I picked up your book thinking, oh, like it's going to be like how I can clean my tables and mop and do all of this,
Mm.
the regular cleaning stuff. You go into like how to clean your mattress in a way that's natural and healthy. And even when it comes to like cleaning wood and like all of this great stuff. So thank you so much for your work and your
Oh,
efforts around this.
thank you. I'm
Uh,
really glad that like it resonated in that sense, because that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to be
yeah.
easy and practical and laid out in a way that just kind of walk like I'm right there with you and holding your hand, and just we're just chilling, we're just walking through and just,
Yeah.
so alhamdulillah, I'm really
Yeah.
glad to hear that.
For sure. It's really like user friendly, and it's not stressful. I find that
Okay,
you know,
great.
as a sustainability professional, a lot of times you get this anxiety when you hear
Mm-hmm.
about the state of our planet and you hear
Yeah.
about what's happening. So, I'm always mindful of not getting into that negative mindset, and especially when it comes to, chemicals and what you're putting into your body. Sometimes it can get overwhelming. So
Yeah.
I did appreciate that. One of the other things, and I'm finding these gems throughout the book. So one of the other things that you brought up that surprised me, but also didn't so much, which was disappointing, was that a lot of the ingredients listed, um, like no one's auditing what people are putting on their bottles. Like you can go to the shop and pick up something that says eco-friendly
Mm-hmm.
glass cleaner, and
Yeah.
it probably is not eco-friendly. It has all of these chemicals in it, which really surprised me.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a thing that definitely is a hot topic in this community, is that, just because a product, and they, these art marketers and advertisers, they do a really good job of speaking to our emotions, right? Like they put on
Yeah.
the pretty labels and the greens and the neutral earth tones and the leaves and
The leaves.
but
It's
the
always the
leaves is
leaves.
always the eco
Yes, it's
leaf,
always
right?
the leaves.
The leaf and the home, and words that you think should be regulated, like all natural, eco-friendly, even organic. Like they can put the word organic on there on the label, but if the back of the label does not have the organic seal, it means nothing. And that's
Mm,
really, you're right, it's really frustrating. And it's on us. Like the onus is on us to educate ourselves, to know what we're doing. And that's why a big part of like a whole chapter is dedicated just to how to read a product label, because we don't know how to
yeah.
do that. We're so used to being told what to do. I talked about this in several other talks, that I feel like the big shift happened when marketing advertising took over like television, in the 50s and the 60s, when everybody had a TV in their home. We all just, society became lazy, I think. And we just started just accepting what we were told, and like,
Yeah.
use this product, buy this product, it's the greatest thing. And we have forgotten how to think for ourselves, unfortunately. And we need to start doing that, because nobody's going to do it for us.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it all, like, greenwashing in and of itself is like a huge topic, right? When it
Hmm.
comes to the clothes we wear or what businesses are putting out there, what they're projecting in terms of, there are big companies. I don't want to name them, but
Yeah.
when it comes to like plastic reduction and waste and commitments
Hmm.
around that, there's a lot of greenwashing out there. So I think it's
Absolutely.
it's definitely really important, and that you having a chapter around this is so important, because we need to take the time to understand what's in the food that we eat, what's in these products that we're, putting on our skin, what are in the products that we're surrounding ourselves with. And I was listening to a live that you did with a group in Germany a few days ago,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
even the topic of fragrances came up, and I was so embarrassed because I love things that smell nice, like even
We all
behind me.
do.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
and I noticed in some of the recipes, so at the back of your book, there's essential oils that you can add to some of these products. But even things like fragrances,
Hmm.
right? Like there are things that we as human beings enjoy. We're like, oh, that it smells really nice. The lotions that you put on your hand, like these
Yeah.
lemony, fresh, clean products. But even like fragrances are very harmful for your body, obviously, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
those specifically, and those are ubiquitous, like they're just in everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of us have been psychologically conditioned to believe that, if it doesn't smell good, then it's not clean. If
Mm.
it doesn't like have this overwhelming smell, like I even just walking down our neighborhood street, I can smell like the dryer sheets, in the like
Yes.
coming out the vents, the scent, and I'm like,
Yes.
oh, they're doing laundry.
Yeah.
Like the whole neighborhood smells it.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because fragrances specifically, they induce like feelings in us, right? They activate certain parts of our brain. The olfactory sense, our sense of smell, is directly connected to a specific part of the brain that, wakes up like certain memories and emotions, and so it's not on accident, like,
Yeah.
and when we use these products, we are in this blissful state and we love cleaning, and everything is
Yeah.
amazing. And so, but these fragrances are made with very cheap toxic chemicals, and they're made that way because they're cheap, and they affect our, like, so they've been found to trigger like allergies and asthma. Something that I found really interesting is that some of these chemicals can trigger asthma in people who never had asthma before. So they can
Oh,
like
wow.
literally create asthma if you didn't have it before. Um, they did studies on like domestic workers, people who clean homes for a living, and followed them throughout many decades, and found that their what's the word, like the chances of them developing asthma throughout their life is vastly increased compared to someone who is just using regular cleaning products at their home just to clean their own home. So even just the frequency that you're
Yeah.
using these products have a drastic effect on your health. So it is one of my top three ingredients that I try to stay away from. Um, they are in everything. They're in personal care products. They are, they're, to say that you will get rid of them 100%, like I even haven't gotten rid of them 100%. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure there's still some products. I think my hair products probably have some. But like I said in the previous live, like we can only control so much, so also give yourself some grace, and know that this, like anything else, is all about balance.
Yeah.
And focus on one thing and do that one thing really well. Like don't try to overwhelm yourself with doing all of the things. And that's like a main, you know, cornerstone of this book, is just one step at a time,
At a
because
time. Yeah.
you will burn out, you will get tired, and you will just give up, because I've
Yeah.
been there. Like I'm just like, you get to this point where you're like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like everything's gonna kill us anyways. Like just
Oh
throw
no.
throw it all up in the air. Just like, whatever.
Oh no. Oh
Like,
no.
so you can't, like, it's like you're saying, you have to be like conscious of getting into that negative mindset. You have to pull yourself out of it, because it will
Yeah.
consume you.
Yeah,
So
for
we
sure.
yeah, like it's just one step at a time, one thing at a time.
Yeah, and I think that's what, right, like to your point, that's what any change in life, any
Hmm.
behavioral change, any steps that we're taking, we have to be patient with ourselves. We have to be patient with the people around us as
Around us.
well, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't have these attitudes towards people who aren't making the same changes
Yeah.
as us, and we have to really lead by example. Um, so, for Sarah, for someone who is, you know, thinking of making this change and really becoming more interested in their health and well-being at home, and wanting to learn about natural products. I know when it came to transitioning to more zero waste lifestyles, I've always been reading that the room to start that journey is your bathroom. To make that
Hmm.
zero waste transition, start in your bathroom and go from there. When it comes to kind of low hanging fruit, easy changes for us to incorporate when it comes to having a more healthy and natural home, do you have any, like, what are some of your top recommendations for someone who's just wanting to start that journey?
Yeah, so it's interesting you mentioned the bathroom. For me, I would say it would definitely be in the kitchen,
Mhm.
and that's why it's the first room that we tackle in the book. And the like, definitely start in the kitchen, because that's where you have the most exposure. You spend more time in the kitchen than you do in any other area of your home. And so, you're cleaning a lot in the kitchen, you're doing dishes, you're washing your hands, you're cleaning the floors, you're like, there's all kinds of things being used throughout the day. So the very first recipe in the very first room in the book is the all-purpose cleaner. And that's for a reason. Thank God it started with an A, so it could be in the beginning of
It
the
made
list.
sense, right? Yeah.
But it is the first, even if it didn't start with an A, I would have put it in the beginning.
Yeah.
The all-purpose cleaner is like my like holy grail product. Um, Whether, I mean, even if you're not going DIY, like if you're not making your homemade products, start
Mhm.
with the cleaner that you use the most often. And so for me and for most people, that's your all-purpose cleaner. That's whatever you use to wipe down every single, surface in your home. And then also another thing that I would really highly suggest to focus on is your hand soap because that's used throughout the day,
Yeah.
and it's absorbed in your skin. And kids are using washing their hands and stuff. So you do want to make sure that those two products are as safe as you can get them to be, and then take it from there. Like start with those two or start with one, like I say in the book.
Yeah.
Find the thing that you absolutely love, whether it's a recipe or whether it's a store-bought product. There's plenty mentioned in the book, and then go from there, like just one product at a time.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So as we're winding down of this session, I just have a couple more questions, and one of them is around cost savings. So at Environment Muslims, obviously, the work that we do centers around our relationship with the environment. Our intention is always to go back to you know, how can we work towards being better environmental stewards? How can we encourage our community to do that too? But we also know that that's not always the factor that people are looking for. That's not always their motivating factor, I should say.
Hmm.
Like I remember last weekend I was having a conversation with a person working at a mosque in the UK, and they had meatless Mondays in a mosque that
Oh my
had, yeah, meatless Mondays in a mosque that was predominantly South Asian,
God.
and it was an older demographic. And when they weren't getting like the meat at the iftars, the mosque management team said to them, well, it's for your health. Like, we don't want to serve you meat for your health. But at their board meetings and externally, they use the environmental angle. Like, we're not serving meat because of the impacts
Mm,
that meat consumption has on the environment. So to us, we're always looking for, okay, if this person doesn't care about as much about the environmental impact yet, what
mhm.
other angles can we bring in? And with things like products and things, I always go back to like the finances. Like, is it
Yeah,
going to save you
that's a big
money?
one. Yeah.
And
So
is it,
money
do you think?
money
Is it?
talks, right?
Yeah.
Like some people are just like, I just like, and that's when I like one of the chapters we talk about finding your why. And I
Hmm.
give examples of statements that you can come up with yourself to describe your why. And one of them, and it's I have it right here. So like there's the three R's, like one, I want to protect my family's health and well-being. Like that's one group of people. Another group of people is I want to live a more eco-friendly and sustainable lifestyle, like you're talking about, right? The
Yeah.
environment and just, and then finally, I want to save money and be more self-sufficient. And those two I feel go hand in hand, in terms of like relying on yourself and taking care of yourself and not having to spend so much money on, third party products. So it is possible. All of those three are possible, and many
Hmm.
more that someone might come up with. Like their children have a specific health problem or whatever it is. It just depends on how you go about it. So if you are going to if you're more concerned about the money aspect, then you're going to go way more full force on like the homemade products and the DIY route.
Hmm.
Um, and in that sense, yeah, you can and do save money. Because another thing that people don't realize is, another thing we're conditioned to believe is that we need like 20 products underneath the kitchen sink to take care of our home. We really don't. We have, I think I use like three main products, and one of them is baking soda. Like, and if you ever bought baking soda, it's like $1 at the store. Like it's, there's a lot of like old, type of wisdom in terms of like how people used to clean their homes and their environments. And a lot of those ways are pretty cheap. So yeah, to answer the question, yeah, you can save money if that's your goal. If that's your goal, then you're gonna do the things that get you to that goal,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be more of, making your own products.
Yeah, for sure. It always comes down to the individual, right?
Hmm.
So it's important for us to remember that as well, that not everybody has the same intentions for doing things. Like they not it's not always practical to assume that everyone's in it
Yeah,
for the environmental benefits or the health benefits. Different things speak to different people.
absolutely.
Um, so Sarah, what is next for you? What should we expect from you? I know you're making the rounds on Instagram
I
right
am
now.
making the
Congrats on
rounds. This is
that.
so unexpected. Like alhamdulillah, like Allah just brought me all of these opportunities. So I'm really
Alhamdulillah.
grateful for you and everyone else who has reached out.
No, thank
Right
you.
now, I'm just really just focusing on getting the book out there.
Hmm.
I am gonna focus. I think I'm gonna take the month of Ramadan off of like Instagram, um, to not only focus on Ramadan but also focus on like my business as well, and see what direction I want to go from there. People always say, is there another book? And I'm like, there probably is, but I don't know. Like,
Yeah, just bask in this
uh,
one. This one just came
yeah,
out, my
yeah,
friends. Let us
exactly.
bask
Yeah, just
in this.
yeah. So I'm probably gonna be redoing my website to take a whole different approach and kind of make it more like book focused and kind
Hmm.
of, because this was so user friendly and practical that I want to make my website kind of mirror this.
Yeah.
That's what I have on my plate right now. So,
That's a
alhamdulillah.
lot. That's a lot. And another thing I guess we should mention is that all of the recipes that are in this book are also available on your website, which is naturesnurture.com, correct?
naturesnurtureblog.com.
Blog.com. Perfect.
Yeah.
And I will link that in any of the follow-up posts that we have going on.
Thank you.
But Sarah, thank you so much
Thank you so much,
for
Saba. This
being
was
a
so fun.
generous first host as well. And we'll talk to you soon.
Inshallah.
All
Assalamu
right.
alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.